same thing. It might be summer.
Okay, it might be summer. All right, so we're going to read this book, and then when we're done, we're going to do lots of different activities with it. So make sure you're paying attention. So no more pencils, no more books, no more teachers' dirty looks. Here we go. All right. Hooray! Gilbert shouted, heading for the door. Today's the last day of school. Here are the cookies, Mother said, and your present for Mrs. Bird. She put the cookies and the present in his backpack. As he ran out the door, Gilbert waved and said, "Don't forget to come to the party this afternoon. Mrs. Bird is giving out awards." Patty was waiting for him outside. She looked sad. "I'm going to miss school," she said. "I like being in Mrs. Bird's class." "Me too," Gilbert said, "but I like summer vacation better." So why do you think Patty said that she's going to miss her teacher? Why do you think? Same kind of reason why you might miss your teachers. Ayana, why do you think?
Because school is fun.
Okay, she might like school. Justice?
Because school is important to her.
Okay, that's a good reason. Alan?
She might be.
Ayana.
Wait, come back to me.
Okay. Melissa?
She might not see her a long time.
She might not see her teacher for a long time. Now, why do you think Gilbert said that he's super excited for summer vacation? Same reason why we're probably all excited for summer vacation.
I'm a little.
Joshua?
Maybe because he might do something on summer.
What do you think he might do?
Maybe go to the park.
Maybe he might go to the park. Mia, what do you think?
It might be his birthday.
It might be his birthday. Brandon?
He might go to the beach.
He might go to the beach. All right, let's keep reading. See what happens to them. When they got into the classroom, Mrs. Bird was changing the number on the countdown banner. Yesterday it said 2 days of school left. Today it said 1 day of school left. Mrs. Bird didn't look very sad. Lewis ran into the classroom singing, "No more pencils, no more books, no more teachers' dirty looks." Mrs. Bird heard him, but she did not give him a dirty look. She just smiled and said, "Settle down, everyone. We have a lot to do this morning, starting with cleaning our desks." "My desk is already clean," Philip said proudly. Lewis rolled his eyes and said, "Maybe you'll get the Clean Desk Award." "No," Philip said back. "I'm going to get the Best Reader Award. Everybody knows I'm the best reader in class."
That is not true.
Gilbert wondered if he would get an award. He wasn't the best reader, and he certainly did not have the cleanest desk. Neither did Mrs. Bird. When she emptied out the bottom of her desk drawer, 4 big packs of gum spilled onto the floor. "Oh my," she said. "Here's your gum, Lewis. You can have it back now." "That's okay," Lewis answered, scraping the green paint off the side of his desk. "You can keep it to remember me by." Mrs. Bird laughed and said, "I don't think I could ever forget you, Lewis." This is Lewis. Gilbert is our main character. He's right here. Before lunch, they practiced their songs and poems for their parents. Frank was nervous, and Mrs. Bird told him to pretend that everyone in the audience was sitting in their underwear. That made Frank giggle, and he wasn't nervous anymore. "Thanks," Frank said. "My grandma and grandpa are coming, and I don't want to mess up." Then he giggled at the thought of his grandparents sitting in the audience in their underwear. "You will do fine," Mrs. Bird said proudly when they were finished. "And remember, after the poems, I'll give out the awards, so remain seated in the front of the room."
We do that.
We used to do that, yep, we did. At recess, Gilbert and Patty talked about who might get awards. "Philip is the best reader for sure," Gilbert said. "Frank is good in math," Patty added. "He might get a math award." "And you're the best speller, Patty," said Gilbert. "I know you'll get an award for that." Patty smiled and said, "Well, you're the best at... Before she could think of anything of what Gilbert did best, Lewis said, "What's the big deal? Everybody gets an award." Gilbert hoped that was true, but he didn't know what he was best at.
Who? Gilbert.
This is Gilbert.
Gilbert.
When they returned to the classroom, all the desks were clean, and the books were boxed, and all the supplies were packed. It didn't feel like Mrs. Bird's classroom anymore. Just as Gilbert started to feel sad, the parents began to arrive. Then Gilbert started to feel nervous. He said his poem over and over in his head. Mrs. Bird welcomed everyone. Then her class sang the songs they had practiced. Lula sang the loudest, and Gilbert wondered if there was a Loud Singer Award.
No.
I don't think so.
Soon it was time for Gilbert to recite the first poem. He took a deep breath, stepped forward and said, "Summer's here, I can't wait, but first grade was really great. Mrs. Bird's the very best, even when she gives a test." Gilbert sat down again. Whew! He didn't manage to make a single mistake. Maybe he would get an award for the best poem. But Margaret's was good also. We learned to spell, we learned to read, we learned a lot of things indeed. Even Frank said his poem without a single mistake. I love numbers, I love math. I think of counting even in the bath.
Really? The bath.
All right, that's what I want you to do for a minute. I want you to think about why they might be nervous about reciting their poems, telling their poems in front of their parents.
I think.
I want you to think in your head. When you're ready, turn and tell the person sitting next to you why do you think they might be nervous about that.
They might be nervous because it's their last day of school. They might be nervous because they're afraid they're going to get it wrong because their parents. Yeah, and or they're afraid that they won't get an award or their mom will get an award.
They might not get an award. What did you guys think?
I'm nervous because I think they're nervous because they might make a mistake and mess up.
Do you think their parents are nervous?
No,
All right, get a tongue twist.
Yes.
Thanks, you're rock stars. I liked listening to what you had to say. I talked to Colette and Nikki and Justice, and I heard some of you as well. And it sounds like you guys all feel like they might be a little bit nervous. That they might mess up. And Justice said maybe their parents will laugh at them. Colette said maybe they won't get an award. That would be really disappointing, wouldn't it? Yeah. All right, let's keep reading. Book's almost done. You guys are doing a nice job. But when it was Philip's turn to recite the last poem, he didn't step forward. His knees were wobbly, and he looked very pale. He had forgotten his poem. Mrs. Bird handed him a copy, but when Philip tried to read it, all that came out was a squeak. Gilbert's little sister Lola started to laugh, and Gilbert gave her a dirty look. No one knew what to do. So Gilbert took the paper and started reading. Each day in school, I try to be as good a student as I can be. And if I read one book or 3, then Philip finally remembered the rest and blurted out, I'll always have a friend with me. Ooh. Everyone clapped, and Philip turned red.
Dang.
All right, we're going to make a prediction in a minute. So, what award do you think Gilbert's going to get? They're almost done with
The
their
best
poems.
poem award.
Raise your hand, please. We're almost in 2nd grade. Benjamin, what do you think?
The helping award?
The helping award, that might be a good one. Alan?
The world's goodest poem?
The world's greatest
Hey.
poem. Yeah. Melissa? What kind of award do you think Gilbert might get?
Trying.
Maybe trying his best. Yeah? Mia?
Trying hard.
Trying hard. Layla, what were you going to say?
Helping award?
The helping award, maybe? All right, well, we'll see what he's going to get. We're going to find out.
I think the helping award.
Philip was still red when Mrs. Bird gave him the Best Reader Award. Patty got the Spelling Award. Margaret got one for handwriting. Kenny had the best attendance. Even Lois got an award for being the funniest. Gilbert stood there as one by one the ribbons were given out. He thought he might get the Best Artist Award, but Susan got it instead. Maybe there wouldn't be an award for Gilbert after all. Finally, Mrs. Bird said, and the last award goes to Gilbert. He gets the Good Friend Award. Gilbert was happy. Really? Hold on. Gilbert was happy. Now he knew what he was good at. He thought Mrs. Bird was the best teacher ever.
Yes, she is.
She might be almost as good as Miss
Oh
Noble.
my God.
As they ate cookies and cake, Mrs. Bird said, I have a gift for each of you to take home. A memory book of pictures from your first grade class. Hey, Lewis said, flipping through the pages. Here's the snowman that Gilbert helped me make. In our trip to Pilgrim Town, Philip added, Gilbert was my buddy on the bus. And on the last page of the memory book was a picture of the whole class, including Mrs. Bird. I'm really going to miss you all, she said. She looked like she was going to cry.
I've never seen that.
Please tell me Olive
Almost done. Maybe Mrs. Bird should open her gifts, Brandon.
Wow.
Patty whispered. I brought her a nice plant. That will cheer her up. I'm giving her a picture of myself, Philip whispered, so she won't forget me.
She won't.
Sadly, Gilbert said to Mrs. Bird, I wish you could always be our teacher. Mrs. Bird smiled and said, Me too, but remember, you can still visit me when you're in 2nd grade. It's not the same, Gilbert answered quietly. The bell rang and everyone took turns hugging Mrs. Bird until Mrs. Bird was all hugged out.
That means wow.
As they walked home, Gilbert said, Mrs. Bird looks so sad when we left. What will she do all summer without us? Patty sighed and said, She'll probably be getting ready for her new class. Then Gilbert started to sniffle. Mrs. Bird was awfully sad, he said. She's going to miss me very, very much. Father said, I know what will make you feel better. They were standing in front of the ice cream shop.
Oh, ice cream.
Oh, come on. Nice.
Gilbert saw all of his friends inside, and he started to feel better. No one looked sad at all. Everyone was happy that summer vacation was finally here.
What?
Oh, man.
Especially Mrs. Bird.
Mrs. Bird is hiding. No, she just came.
Dang. Why do you have 3 notes on the back?
Because they were my sticky notes, I won't forget. Thanks for asking that. All right, so in our story, we learned about Gilbert's last day of school, and we did some predicting, and we did some other good stuff. What are you doing? Can I have that? Can I have that? Please and thank you. You're the best. I'll get back to you later. Okay, what I would like you to do is I would like you, with the person sitting next to you, retell the story. Tell them what happened at the beginning, what happened in the middle, what happened in the end.
What happened in the beginning? In the beginning, he was happy they had to take it, and so he
Where did they go? They went to school for the last day. And what were they doing?
He didn't know the rest of us. You didn't go yet.
And they was Gilbert.
They went to the ice cream shop.